The planet Kalora was silent. Its skies were pale, gray, and filled with swirling clouds of dust. Once, long ago, it had been bright and full of life, with forests that stretched endlessly and rivers that sparkled like liquid crystal. Now, it was a place of ruins, of broken towers and empty cities, where nothing grew and the wind whispered only sorrow. Among these ruins wandered a small figure, a young girl with bright green eyes and silver hair that shimmered like moonlight. Her name was Lyra. She was an orphan, one of the few who had survived the great collapse of her civilization. Her family had vanished in the chaos that had destroyed her home, leaving her alone in a world that had forgotten how to care. Lyra moved carefully through the rubble. Her thin frame and nimble legs allowed her to climb over fallen walls and dodge the occasional sharp scrap of metal. She carried a small satchel made of torn fabric, where she kept a few precious belongings: a cracked water container, a small knife she had fashioned herself, and a piece of the old family amulet she always wore around her neck. That amulet, carved with strange runes, was the only thing left of her parents. She touched it often, feeling a warmth that reminded her she had once belonged to someone, somewhere. Food was rare. Water was rarer. Most days, Lyra had to hunt tiny creatures that scuttled under the rocks or pick at strange, thorny plants that had learned to survive the harsh environment. Each day was a struggle, but she was clever. She remembered the lessons her mother had whispered before the end. Always watch the wind, listen to the stones, and never let fear rule you. Those words kept her moving forward. One morning, as the sun barely broke through the gray sky, Lyra spotted a glimmer among the ruins. It was small, a piece of metal reflecting light like a tiny star. She hurried toward it, her curiosity stronger than her hunger. As she brushed away the dust, she realized it was a fragment of old technology, something her people had used before the collapse. It was engraved with patterns she did not fully understand, but something in her heart told her it was important. Lyra carefully picked it up, turning it over in her hands. It hummed faintly, as if alive, and she felt a strange connection to it. She had always known that her people had great knowledge that even the collapse could not fully erase. Maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to use it, to survive not only for herself but to honor those who had gone before her. The day was growing colder, and the wind picked up. Lyra wrapped herself in the tattered cloak she wore, feeling the chill bite at her skin. She knew she had to find shelter before night fell. Nights on Kalora were dangerous. Predators moved silently in the ruins, and even the stars seemed to hide behind thick clouds. She climbed to the top of a fallen tower and scanned the horizon. In the distance, she saw a dark shape that looked like the remains of a great hall, a place that might provide some safety. Her legs ached from climbing and running, but she pushed forward. Every step was a small victory. Every breath reminded her she was alive. And for Lyra, that was enough to keep going. As she reached the hall, she paused. The entrance was wide, with jagged stones jutting out. She could see shadows moving inside. Her heart thumped. Predators or worse, other survivors who might be cruel could be inside. She had learned to trust no one. Yet, something inside her urged caution mixed with hope. She slipped inside, keeping low and silent. The hall was dark and musty. Broken pillars leaned at odd angles, and the floor was littered with debris. Lyra's green eyes adjusted to the gloom. There, in the center of the hall, she saw an object partially buried under a pile of stones. It was a small, round device, clearly ancient and delicate. As she reached for it, the device suddenly lit up with a soft blue glow. Lyra jumped back, startled, but curiosity won. She picked it up carefully. The device hummed and projected a small holographic map of the planet. Lines of energy ran across the land, showing places she had never known existed. Her heart raced. She realized that even in this broken world, knowledge remained. Somewhere out there, there might be places of safety, of life, of hope. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the hall. Lyra froze. A creature, large and shadowy, emerged from behind a pillar. Its eyes glowed faint red, and it moved with silent grace. Lyra knew she could not outrun it this time. Her hands trembled, but she remembered her mother's words, "Never let fear rule you." She clutched the device tightly and held her ground. The creature paused, sniffing the air. Lyra slowly backed toward a small alcove, where she could hide if necessary. The creature stepped closer, its eyes fixed on her. Lyra's mind raced. She had to think, had to survive. Then, an idea sparked. She pressed a button on the device. A beam of light shot out, and the creature recoiled, hissing. The light confused it, giving Lyra enough time to slip past and run. She sprinted through the hall, heart pounding, until she was outside again. The wind whipped around her, and she gasped for air. But she was alive. That night, she found a small cave on the edge of a cliff. She curled up, clutching the device and her amulet. The wind howled, but inside the cave, she felt a small measure of safety. As she stared at the stars through the jagged opening of the cave, she whispered a promise to herself. "I will survive. I will find my place. I will not be forgotten." Days passed in a blur of survival. Lyra scavenged, hunted, and slept in hiding, learning more about the ruins and the strange machines she found. She began to understand the device, recognizing patterns and symbols. Each discovery filled her with wonder and a sense of purpose. She was no longer just surviving. She was learning, growing, and preparing for something greater. One morning, as the twin suns of Kaelora barely lit the sky, Lyra felt a presence. She stopped, her senses sharp. Someone or something was watching her. She scanned the horizon and saw a figure approaching from the ruins. It was tall and moved with a calm, deliberate pace. Unlike the creature she had faced, there was no threat in its steps, only wisdom and age. Lyra's heart beat faster. Could this be another survivor? Or someone who might help or harm her? She tightened her grip on the device and slipped behind a rock. The figure stopped a short distance away and spoke in a soft, melodic voice. "Child, you are alone, aren't you?" Lyra hesitated. The voice was gentle, not harsh. She peeked out. The figure was old, with silver hair like hers, eyes deep with knowledge, and robes that shimmered faintly in the sunlight. There was something comforting about this elder, a feeling she had not experienced since losing her family. I am," Lyra said cautiously. "Who are you?" "I am Kael," the elder replied. "I have watched this world for many years. I saw your courage. You are clever, strong, and brave. You do not need to fear me." Lyra studied him, unsure. But something inside her told her she could trust this stranger. She nodded slowly. "Then come," Kael said, gesturing to a path leading deeper into the ruins. "There is much to learn, and much to survive. You do not have to face the darkness alone." For the first time in many months, Lyra felt hope. She stood up, her small figure resolute against the gray sky. Together, they walked through the ruins. Two beings connected by survival and the promise of knowledge. Lyra did not know what awaited her. But for the first time, she believed that she could belong, that she could learn, and that she could thrive. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, and the wind whispered not sorrow, but possibility. She was still an orphan, she was still alone. But with Elder Kael, the first glimmer of a new life had begun. Lyra had spent only a few days with Elder Kael, but already, her world had begun to change. The old alien moved slowly and deliberately, yet every step he took seemed filled with purpose. Kael's eyes held a wisdom that made Lyra feel both curious and safe, and his calm voice carried lessons of patience and survival. Each morning, Kael led Lyra to places she had never dared explore alone. They climbed jagged cliffs where the wind roared like a living creature, and they descended into shadowy valleys where strange creatures lurked. Lyra's heart would race at first, but Kale's presence gave her courage. "Fear is not weakness," Kale told her one morning, as they watched the twin suns rise over the ruins. "Fear is a signal. Listen to it, understand it, but do not let it control you. Strength comes from knowledge, from preparation, and from wisdom. Remember this, Lyra." Lyra nodded, her green eyes bright. She wanted to be strong. She wanted to survive not only for herself but to honor her family. She had already learned how to find food and water, how to hide from predators, and how to move silently through ruins. But Kale showed her there was more. More to understand, more to learn, and more to achieve. The elder led her to an old chamber hidden beneath a crumbling tower. The entrance was small, almost invisible, but inside lay a treasure that made Lyra gasp. Shelves and walls were lined with ancient machines, glowing softly with residual energy. Strange symbols covered the surfaces, and small devices hummed as if waiting to be used. "This is a sanctuary of knowledge," Kale said, his voice quiet with reverence. "Your people created these tools long ago. Few survived to remember how to use them. And now, you will learn." Lyra stepped forward, her small hands trembling as she touched one of the devices. It hummed warmly under her fingers. "It's alive," she whispered. Kale smiled. "In a way, yes. Machines are more than metal and energy. They are knowledge made tangible. They are memories of your people. And you, Lyra, can awaken them." For the next days, Kale began teaching her the basics. He showed her how to read symbols etched into the machines, how to recognize energy flows, and how to understand the logic of the old technology. Lyra's mind raced with excitement. She was learning things she had only imagined in her dreams. At first, the lessons were confusing. She often made mistakes, pressing the wrong buttons, or misreading the patterns. Sometimes the machines would spark or hum angrily, startling her. But Kale never scolded her. "Mistakes are the path to understanding," he said. "Do not fear failure, Lyra. Learn from it. Every failure teaches you something." Lyra began to practice every day. Even when Kale was not watching, she would wake before dawn, climb to the hidden chamber, and study the devices until her fingers ached. Slowly, she began to understand the rhythm of the machines. Slowly, she began to see connections and patterns where there had once been only confusion. But knowledge alone was not enough. Kale knew that survival required strength of body as well as mind. Each morning after their lessons, they practiced agility and endurance. Lyra learned to jump across broken rooftops, to climb jagged cliffs, and to balance on narrow beams above the ruins. Kale also taught her how to sense danger, to read the wind and shadows, and to recognize the subtle signs of predators or enemies. One afternoon, as they practiced on the edge of a steep cliff, Kale stopped and looked at her seriously. "Lyra, there will come a day when knowledge alone cannot save you. You must trust your instincts, your strength, and your courage. You must be ready to face what others fear." "Do you understand?" Lyra nodded firmly. "I understand, Elder Kale. I will be ready." That evening, as the twin suns set and the sky turned deep purple, Lyra sat by a small fire that Kale had built. He handed her a piece of dried food, which she accepted gratefully. "You are improving," he said, "not just in skill, but in spirit. You are becoming the kind of being your people were meant to be. One day, you will be more than a survivor. You will be a protector, a guardian of knowledge, and a beacon of hope." Lyra looked at him, her green eyes wide. "Me? But I'm just a girl. I don't know if I can." Kale shook his head gently. "You have already survived what most could not. You have courage, intelligence, and heart. That is more than enough. Trust yourself, Lyra." The next day, Kale led Lyra to a dangerous part of the ruins, an area where the collapsed buildings formed a maze of crumbling walls and hidden pitfalls. "Here," he explained, was a test not of knowledge, but of courage and quick thinking. You will navigate this alone, Kale said. Remember your training. Watch, listen, and trust yourself. Lyra's heart pounded as she stepped into the maze. Every sound echoed strangely. Every shadow seemed alive. She moved carefully, remembering the lessons Kale had taught her. She spotted traps, avoided dangerous ledges, and even found a small, hidden stream to refill her water container. Hours passed, and just as exhaustion began to take hold, she reached the center of the maze. There, she discovered a small chamber containing another relic of her people. It was a crystal orb, glowing softly with a blue light. Lyra held it in her hands, feeling warmth and power flowing through her fingers. She realized that the elders of her people had created these devices to preserve knowledge and guide future generations. And now, she had found one. When she returned to Kale, he smiled proudly. You did well. You faced fear and uncertainty, and came through stronger. This is just the beginning. Lyra, you have the courage and skill to achieve greatness. Over the next weeks, Lyra's confidence grew. She learned to repair small devices, to recognize energy flows, and even to predict the behavior of the strange creatures that lived in the ruins. Each day brought new lessons, new challenges, and new discoveries. One day, as they explored a section of the ruins that had once been a research facility, Lyra heard a distant sound, a low, mechanical hum. Curious, she followed it, finding a partially buried machine that seemed to pulse with life. As she approached, the device activated, projecting a holographic image of a star system she did not recognize. Kale watched quietly. This is knowledge your people created long ago, he said. It is a map of worlds that may still hold life, still hold hope. One day, Lyra, you may travel to these worlds. One day, you may help others who are lost or struggling. But first, you must master this place, master yourself. Lyra nodded. Her heart raced with excitement and determination. She had survived the ruins, learned the ways of the machines, and discovered the strength within herself. She was no longer the frightened, lonely girl who had wandered the broken planet. She was growing into something more, something capable, something courageous, something hopeful. As night fell, Lyra and Kale returned to their hidden chamber. The stars shone faintly above the ruins, and Lyra felt a quiet peace she had not known in months. She curled up near the small fire, holding the crystal orb and her amulet close. Elder Kale, she asked softly, will I ever see other worlds? Will I ever know if my people are still out there? Kale placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Perhaps. But for now, focus on learning, on growing, on surviving. One step at a time, Lyra. The universe is vast, and your place in it will reveal itself when the time is right. Lyra smiled faintly, feeling warmth and hope she had not known in a long time. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, that challenges awaited her, and that danger could appear at any moment. But for the first time, she did not feel alone. She had Kale, the knowledge of her people, and most importantly, her own courage. The next morning, Lyra awoke to a new challenge. A storm was brewing in the distance, dark clouds rolling across the sky like a wall. Kale stood at the entrance of their chamber, observing the horizon. Lyra, he said, today you will learn not only to survive, but to thrive in adversity. The storm will test you, your mind, and your skills. Do you have the courage to face it? Lyra stood tall, gripping her satchel. Yes, Elder Kale. I am ready. And with that, the storm began to sweep across the ruins of Kalora, testing every skill, every lesson, and every bit of courage Lyra had gained. But she would not falter. She would survive, she would grow, and she would continue on the path that Kale had set for her toward knowledge, strength, and hope. Lyra had grown stronger in both body and mind since Elder Kale took her under his guidance. She had learned to navigate the treacherous ruins, read the symbols of ancient machines, and even understand the faint hum of old energy sources hidden across the planet. Yet, the more she learned, the more she realized that Kaelora was not entirely as it seemed. There were secrets hidden in the ruins, and not all of them were benign. One morning, Kael led Lyra to the edge of a deep canyon, where the winds howled like spirits of the past. "Today," Kael said, "you will learn about danger. You will learn about choices and consequences. The machines and knowledge you carry will help you, but so will your instincts." Lyra nodded, gripping her satchel tightly. She had grown confident, but there was still fear beneath her courage, a fear of failing, of losing what little safety she had found. She followed Kael down a narrow path carved into the canyon wall, the cliffs dropping steeply on either side. "Watch the shadows," Kael warned. "The ruins hold creatures that are clever, not just strong. You must anticipate them." As they moved, a faint rustling came from above. Lyra froze, her heart racing. From the jagged rocks descended a creature unlike any she had seen before. Its body was lithe and armored, with multiple limbs ending in sharp, grasping claws. Its eyes glowed a soft amber, and it moved silently, yet with precise intent. Kael motioned for her to stay calm. "It is not hunting yet," he whispered. "It is testing. Watch and learn." Lyra held her breath, observing. The creature circled them, sniffing the air and tapping the rocks with its claws. It seemed intelligent, assessing their movements. Lyra remembered Kael's lessons: trust instincts, watch patterns, act with precision. Slowly, she reached into her satchel and retrieved the small device she had found months ago, the one that projected faint energy patterns. She pressed a button, and the device emitted a soft hum and a low, blue glow. The creature paused, then tilted its head. Lyra held the glow steady, remembering the rhythm she had felt when she first touched the machine. The creature sniffed again, then, after what felt like an eternity, retreated silently into the canyon. Kael smiled. "Well done. You used knowledge and instinct together. That is the path of survival and growth." Lyra exhaled, her heart still pounding. I never thought I could face something like that." Kael placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Courage is not the absence of fear, Lyra. Courage is acting despite it." That afternoon, they discovered a small underground chamber, partially collapsed but filled with more relics of the past. Among the relics, Lyra found a strange crystalline shard that seemed to resonate with energy when she held it. The shard pulsed faintly, almost as if it were alive, and Lyra felt a strange connection to it. "Your lineage, Lyra," Kael said, observing her carefully, "has always been tied to these energies. Your ancestors were guardians of knowledge. You carry a spark of their power within you. One day, you may awaken it fully." Lyra felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She was just a girl, yet Kael's words made her feel as if she were destined for something greater. But with destiny came responsibility, and responsibility always meant challenges. Over the following days, Kael pushed her further. He led her to distant parts of the ruins, places where the buildings had collapsed into enormous pits, or where the wind had eroded the rocks into strange formations. Lyra climbed, jumped, and balanced her way through treacherous paths, growing more agile and precise with each movement. One evening, Kael stopped on the edge of a high plateau, looking out at the horizon. "Lyra, tomorrow you will face a trial unlike any before. You will need to combine everything you have learned: agility, knowledge, courage, and heart. Are you ready?" Lyra felt a mix of anticipation and fear. I think so," she said honestly. Kael nodded. "Good. Tomorrow, you will enter the Hall of Echoes. It is a place where knowledge and challenge meet. Many have entered, few have returned. But I believe in you." The Hall of Echoes was an ancient structure, partially buried beneath layers of rock and dust. Its entrance was guarded by strange energy fields that shimmered and flickered unpredictably. Lyra could feel the power emanating from within, a force that both beckoned and warned her. The next morning, Lyra approached the entrance. Her heart pounded as she activated the devices Kael had taught her to use. projecting energy fields that neutralized some of the hall's defenses. She stepped inside cautiously. The hall was vast, with towering walls covered in glowing runes. As she walked, the walls projected visions of the past. Cities thriving with life, beings learning and creating, families laughing and sharing knowledge. Lyra's chest tightened as she realized how much had been lost and how much she carried within her to preserve. Suddenly, the floor beneath her shifted. A narrow path opened, leading deeper into the hall. Lyra moved carefully, sensing traps hidden along the way. She remembered Kale's words, "Trust your instincts." Each step required focus, and each choice was a test. Midway through the hall, Lyra encountered a chamber filled with mechanical guardians, machines left behind to protect the knowledge of her people. They moved swiftly, responding to her presence. Lyra's heart raced. She had learned to repair machines, but could she outsmart these? She activated her device, creating energy patterns that distracted the guardians. Using agility and clever timing, she navigated past them, her movements precise and deliberate. Her training had prepared her for this moment. Step by step, she progressed, her confidence growing with each successful maneuver. Finally, she reached a central chamber. There, resting on a pedestal, was a luminous crystal similar to the shard she had found before. As she approached, the crystal pulsed brighter, resonating with the energy she carried within herself. Lyra reached out, and the moment her fingers touched the crystal, a surge of warmth and light flowed through her. Visions filled her mind, her ancestors guiding her, the history of her people unfolding before her eyes. She saw the strength and courage that ran through her lineage, the knowledge preserved for future generations, and the responsibilities that now rested on her shoulders. Lyra gasped, pulling back for a moment. I can feel it," she whispered. "I can feel them. Their strength, their courage." The crystal dimmed, leaving her with a quiet sense of purpose. She understood now. She was more than a survivor. She was a guardian, a keeper of knowledge, and a symbol of hope for her people. But with this awakening came the realization that her journey was far from over. As Lyra exited the Hall of Echoes, Kale waited outside. He studied her carefully, a faint smile on his lips. "You have done well, Lyra. You have faced fear, tested your skill, and awakened the spark within you. This is only the beginning. The universe is vast, and there are challenges yet to come." Lyra looked at him, determination shining in her eyes. "I am ready, Elder Kale. Whatever comes next, I will face it." Kale nodded. "Good. For soon, others will come. Some will seek to harm. Some will seek to take knowledge. You must be ready to protect what is precious. Remember, Lyra, courage is not only for yourself, it is for those who cannot protect themselves." The days following her trial were filled with preparation. Kale introduced Lyra to new machines and relics, teaching her how to combine them for defense, for survival, and for exploration. She learned to anticipate attacks from both creatures and hostile scavengers, to repair and enhance ancient technology, and to rely on her instincts in situations where logic alone could not guide her. One afternoon, while testing a small energy barrier, Lyra felt a sudden tremor in the ruins. Dust fell from the ceilings, and faint roars echoed from the distance. She grabbed her device and activated the barrier, preparing for whatever threat was approaching. Kale joined her quickly. "Stay calm, Lyra. Focus. Remember your training." From the shadows emerged a group of scavengers, humans and aliens alike, who had heard rumors of the ancient machines. They moved aggressively, attempting to claim the relics for themselves. Lyra's heart raced, but she remembered the lessons of the Hall of Echoes. She combined her knowledge and agility, using energy patterns to confuse the scavengers, leading them into traps within the ruins, and finally forcing them to retreat. When the danger passed, Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. "You see, Lyra? Knowledge, courage, and quick thinking, these are your greatest weapons. You are no longer just surviving. You are thriving, growing into the guardian you were meant to be." Lyra looked at the ruins around her, at the glowing machines, and at the vast horizon of her broken world. She felt a sense of purpose and belonging stronger than ever. She was ready for the future, ready for challenges, and ready to carry the legacy of her people. For the first time since she had been orphaned, Lyra truly believed in herself. She had faced trials, awakened her inner strength, and proven that even in a world of ruins, courage, knowledge, and hope could shine brightly. And as night fell over Kaelora, Lyra gazed at the stars, imagining the worlds she might one day explore, the knowledge she might protect, and the hope she could inspire. She was no longer just a girl struggling to survive. She was a young guardian, learning to embrace her destiny. The winds of Kaelora had grown harsher, carrying dust and the scent of change. Lyra had learned much under Elder Kael's guidance. She had survived the ruins, mastered ancient machines, faced creatures and scavengers, and even awakened the spark of her lineage. Yet now, the greatest test awaited her: the protection of the sanctuary that held the remaining knowledge and power of her people. Kael led her to the entrance of the hidden chamber where relics glowed faintly, their soft hums filling the silence. "Lyra," he said, "today you will defend what you have learned. Others know of this place. They will try to take what is precious. You must protect it, for the future depends on it." Lyra's heart pounded. She had faced dangers before, but this felt different. The survival of her people's knowledge, the legacy of her family, rested in her hands. She nodded, gripping the crystal shard and the device she had learned to command. "I will protect it, Elder Kael, I promise." "Good," Kael said. "Trust yourself, and trust what you have learned." As they prepared the sanctuary's defenses, a group of hostile scavengers appeared on the horizon. They were more numerous than Lyra had ever seen, armed with weapons and tools designed to exploit the ruins. Their eyes glimmered with greed, and their movements were calculated. They had come to claim the sanctuary for themselves. Lyra activated the energy fields she had learned to control, projecting shields around the entrance and the inner chambers. The hum of the devices filled the air, creating a protective barrier. She positioned herself strategically, remembering Kael's training. Observe, anticipate, and act. The scavengers approached cautiously, trying to disrupt the energy fields. Lyra focused, recalling the lessons of agility and quick thinking. She combined devices, projecting confusing light patterns that disoriented the intruders. When one tried to climb the walls, she redirected energy pulses to block its path. Her heart raced, but fear no longer controlled her. She had learned courage, and now she acted with precision. Kael stood beside her, guiding her when needed but allowing her to lead. "Remember, Lyra," he said, "strength alone will not save you. Knowledge and heart will." Lyra nodded, taking a deep breath. She had faced creatures and traps, but nothing tested her spirit like this. The scavengers were relentless, but she anticipated their moves, using both her intellect and her training to keep them at bay. Hours passed, and the battle of wills continued. Lyra began to notice patterns in the intruders' strategy. They underestimated the power of the ancient machines and the intelligence of the girl defending them. She activated the crystal shard she had discovered in the Hall of Echoes. Its light pulsed brightly, resonating with the sanctuary's devices. Energy flowed through the halls, creating barriers, traps, and even temporary disorienting pulses that forced the intruders to retreat. One scavenger managed to bypass the defenses, entering the inner chamber. Lyra's heart leapt. She sprinted forward, using her agility to dodge the intruder's grasp and position herself between them and the sacred relics. The intruder lunged, but Lyra pressed the shard against the wall, activating a pulse that forced the intruder to stumble back. She moved with precision, combining her knowledge of the machines with instinctive reactions. Finally, the scavengers, realizing they could not overcome her defenses, retreated into the ruins, leaving Lyra and Kael alone. Exhausted, but triumphant, Lyra slumped against a wall, breathing heavily. She had done it. She had protected the sanctuary, the legacy of her people, and her own growing strength. Kale placed a hand on her shoulder, pride evident in his eyes. You have done well, Lyra. Today you proved that courage, knowledge, and heart can overcome even overwhelming odds. You are no longer just a survivor, you are a guardian, a protector of hope. Lyra looked around the sanctuary, at the glowing machines and relics, feeling a sense of fulfillment she had never known. She had faced fear, tested her abilities, and emerged stronger. The sanctuary was safe, and with it, the knowledge of her people. Days passed in preparation and restoration. Lyra worked tirelessly with Kale to repair damaged devices, enhance the sanctuary's defenses, and catalog the relics. She realized that the knowledge contained within these machines could help others, not just herself. She imagined helping other orphaned beings, restoring hope across Kalora, and perhaps even venturing to distant worlds to share what she had learned. One evening, Kale brought her to the highest point of the ruins. The twin suns were setting, casting the sky in shades of gold and purple. Lyra, he said, look at the stars. Each one is a world. Each world a story waiting to be written. Your journey does not end here. This sanctuary is only the beginning. You have the strength, the courage, and the wisdom to venture beyond and protect what is precious wherever you go. Lyra gazed at the endless stars, feeling a mixture of awe and determination. I will, Elder Kale. I will protect what is important, and I will help others. I will not forget my people or my family. I will honor them, Kale smiled. That is why you are destined for greatness, Lyra. Remember this. Hope is not given. It is earned, nurtured, and shared. You are now the keeper of hope for your people and for the future. The following days brought new challenges. Creatures from distant parts of the ruins tested the sanctuary's boundaries. Curious about the energy and activity, Lyra faced each challenge with growing confidence, combining her agility, intelligence, and the devices at her disposal. Each success reinforced her sense of purpose and strength. Lyra also discovered that she could communicate with the sanctuary's devices in ways even KL had not anticipated. The shard she carried seemed to resonate with the machines, allowing her to activate systems, repair broken mechanisms, and even sense disturbances in the environment. She realized that her abilities were unique, a gift inherited from her ancestors and amplified by her courage and determination. One afternoon, while exploring a hidden section of the sanctuary, Lyra found a chamber filled with holographic records of her people's history. She spent hours reading, learning about the civilizations that had thrived on Kalora, their achievements, their struggles, and their eventual downfall. Tears welled in her eyes as she read of families like hers, of communities that had built incredible knowledge and yet were lost to time. But Lyra did not feel despair. Instead, she felt a deep resolve. She would continue their legacy. She would protect what remained. She would ensure that knowledge, hope, and courage lived on. Kale watched her silently, understanding the transformation she had undergone. The small, orphaned girl who had wandered the ruins alone was now a capable, intelligent, and courageous young guardian. He had taught her skills, knowledge, and wisdom. But it was Lyra's heart and determination that had truly shaped her. Weeks later, Kale and Lyra stood at the entrance of the sanctuary, looking out over the vast, ruined landscape of Kalora. You have learned much, Lyra, Kale said, and yet, your journey is only beginning. One day, you may leave this planet, explore distant worlds, and share what you have learned. But wherever you go, remember, you carry the strength of your people, the knowledge of your ancestors, and the courage to protect what is precious. Lyra nodded, her green eyes shining with determination. I understand, Elder Kale. I will honor my people, protect this sanctuary, and grow stronger. I will not forget what I have learned. As the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ruins, Lyra felt a sense of peace and purpose unlike anything she had ever known. She was no longer alone. She had knowledge, strength, courage, and a mentor who believed in her. Most importantly, she had discovered her destiny. The stars above twinkled like countless possibilities, and Lyra knew that her journey would take her far beyond Kaelora. She would face new challenges, protect knowledge, and inspire hope wherever she went. But for now, she stood tall. A guardian of the sanctuary, a protector of her people's legacy, and a young hero, ready to embrace her destiny. Lyra glanced at Elder Kael, who smiled knowingly. "Are you ready, Lyra?" he asked. She smiled back, her heart steady. "I am ready. Whatever comes, I will face it. I am Lyra, guardian of hope, and I will not falter." The wind blew gently, carrying the promise of new beginnings. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the energy of the sanctuary resonate through her. She had survived, learned, grown, and now, she was prepared to face the universe. And so, under the twin suns and the watchful stars, the orphaned alien girl who had once struggled to survive had become a beacon of hope. She was no longer just a survivor, she was a guardian, a protector, and a young hero ready to shape the future of her people and the worlds beyond.